What's going on, everybody? So we just wrapped up watching the first day of fall practices. I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as possible because I can hear the thunder right behind me. I can see the clouds in the sky. Good news and bad news from the first day of practice. Good news, they're able to get in. No problems with the weather at all. Sunny day. Good news also, we were able to watch, a good, 40 minutes maybe of the drills. They were inside during the position drills. The bad news, the disappointing news about it was we were only able to do video of them stretching. Usually almost every practice that there's availability, especially early on in fall camp, able to show you guys the video of practice drills and things like that. Haven't been able to do a lot of one-on-one work or 11-on-11, any type of team stuff lately, recent months or practice periods. But today, we just weren't even able to show you guys the drills. So that's disappointing. I was told after practice, and again, I double-checked, not sure about the next day. And I know many of you like that. So me personally, I'm disappointed not to be able to show you guys those drills, but I'm hoping for the best moving forward. Hopefully things get cleared up and we're able to kind of show you guys at least something of how guys are working, because it's good if I can watch it and I'm glad I can see some things, but my biggest thing is to show you guys what this team looks like. So let's get into a few things that I was able to see today. We watched, in particular, it's going to come up, a lot of reporters did notice this, but Jaden Richard, transfer cornerback, defensive back from Vanderbilt, had an interception. So it was on half-field work. It was on Tyler Van Dyke, and the half-field stuff, basically it looks like a 7-on-7, but they split it where they only go to the left side of the field to make it essentially a 3-on-3 or the right side of the field. So they were going to the left on this particular instance, and basically it looked like just a simple out pattern, and Richard did a good job of jumping it, came down with the interception. Disappointing to see Van Dyke throw that pick. I posted on the live update thread, which I highly recommend on InsideTheU.com for all the practice updates. We're able to see live coverage, and before I'm able to kind of recap it, but I said it was either a bad decision or a bad throw. Either way, it was just a bad pick by Tyler. Good for Richard to get it. Cam Kitchen said after practice it was good to see Jadis do that because he had missed the last couple, so he felt like he owed the defense. So Cam was happy to see Jadis. And just a little more on Jadis, Coach Cristobal mentioned, and we've mentioned this on the channel and on the website, that Jadis is a guy that had experience last year at Vanderbilt playing, and he's starting at cornerback, nickelback, and coach said he even started at boundary safety. So I think just based on hearing the coaches talk about Jadis, they're not quite sure where they're going to play him, but we'll see. He's working out in drills at cornerback, but they feel like they can move him around. I saw him kind of working some slot stuff today. So I think he's just a versatile guy, and he'll kind of play itself out. And I find the defensive back room to be really fascinating. Now, I said linebackers are the most intriguing position battle to watch for in fall camp, but I'm really curious to see how everything is going to shake out with the cornerbacks in particular. They've got a lot of guys that can play different spots, a lot of new guys that we haven't seen at Miami. I had a good conversation with Jaden Davis. Kind of brings me to my next point, but with Jaden, I asked him because you saw the article, Lance Guidry saying it's so important to have a good outside corner, and I asked Jaden if he felt comfortable playing there because he's been a guy that's been kind of more known, or has been more known playing in the nickel. So he said he'll play wherever, so I think that's something to watch for. I do think Jaden has a chance to really be Miami's best corner. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. I think with what he's done at OU, his experience, just his abilities, I think he's going to provide a lot to the defensive back, to the room. Obviously, you got Cam Kitchens there and James Williams at safety, but talking with Jaden, there was something that stood out, and it's good. I feel good about being able to get through this video, but Jaden said that one of the things that he's been able to bring and trying to bring in terms of like the winning culture they had at OU, and kind of being around guys above him. He said he wasn't a leader working with CeeDee Lamb and Kyler and those guys, but he just kind of relaying messages to the team now, trying to help out as much as possible. One thing that he said that this team is doing a good job of, and that's constructive criticism. And I find that to be noteworthy because Cam Kitchens said it after practice today, not in those terms, but basically saying that the team either feels comfortable talking to each other, maybe helping each other out on things that essentially aren't going well or need to be improved. So I felt like that was noteworthy again. So that might be something to watch for. I think guys are trying to be leaders on this team. In addition to the leadership, there's something that I've been really interested about, and that has to do with the culture. Look, it's year 2 for Mario Cristobal, and they're talking a lot about how the culture has been laid down, and I've taken that a couple different ways. Yes, the head coach is the same and some staff members, but there were 7 new assistant coaches that are not a part of this staff. a year ago. So I feel like, yes, the culture's laid in place in some ways. There's also 40 new players on the team. So there's a lot of changes and turnover. And so I feel like, in a way, that they are maybe having to still establish that culture, but none of the coaches or players are talking much about that. And I find that to be interesting. But on the flip side, one thing that I think, just kind of thinking about it, maybe talking to people, one thing I think that might be happening is, and it's kind of a cliche, and Coach Cristobal has said it, but essentially the guys that want to be here are here, and I think that might be playing into it. So maybe the culture is being set by the guys that returned, and those guys all want to be a part of this under this regime with Coach Cristobal. So maybe there is a lot of that. A lot of the leaders maybe from last year's team are still in place, and so maybe the culture is being set by those guys, and it's still Coach Cristobal. And yes, there are some similarities, but it's not typical to have this much turnover with the assistant coaches with the new staff. So there's a little bit of differences there, but I think that might be something to pay attention to, or maybe just to continue to monitor. And maybe they don't have to actually reset, even though so much has changed, because I know a lot of people talk about the new assistant coaches, and I do too, because I think it is a big factor. Just to talk a little bit about a few videos that I've done recently, I just did a breakdown on Branson Dean, a guy that I don't think is being talked about too much, but a guy that I think is going to play a large role on this team, the defensive tackle transfer from Purdue. And I'm going to play this clip because I asked Leonard Taylor at Media Day about Branson, and here's what he had to say about it. I'm going to put this in the video because I found it to be very interesting. This came after I did the video on my own, and this is what he had to say.
He's a very impressive player. I watched this film in the film when we have our little meetings. I like how he get off the ball. He understands the game a lot. He know the ins and outs of the playbook, and he ain't been here that long. So I see that he got real. How you say? Well, he feel real great about the system and what's going on and all that. The playbook, he a real vocal player. He came in here, he leading off real. Whatever I need, all I gotta do is ask him. He got my back, I got his.
So going back to watching practice, what we were able to see, I paid a lot of attention to wide receivers, and quite frankly, they were the ones right in front of me. I did move off of them at different points during our viewing period just to be able to watch other position groups, because it's very easy just to watch a certain position group, the one that is right in front of you, and especially wide receivers, because to me they're fun to watch, and not just this year, or not just because every year they're fun to watch, but this year in particular because I feel like it's a tight battle, and I think they can go different ways. And you've seen my video and my thoughts on the top 6, and kind of, if they're going to cut it off at 6, and I know other people have different thoughts. You can't play everybody. They got 11, so it's going to be interesting to see how it gets cut off and how the rotations go. And I think one big factor, and I asked Kevin Beard about this at Media Day, what's going to be his determining factor, and obviously a lot goes into it, but he's going to be paying attention to consistency. It's going to be a big factor for him in terms of playing time, earning playing time. And I think another thing, I think availability during fall camp is going to be a big deal. If you get hurt an ankle, I think it could really set you back in terms of the competition. And I think other guys will have a chance to emerge. So I think just being out here, in addition to the consistency, and obviously you want to perform and catch passes and do all that stuff, but I think paying attention to that availability thing, and I say that because I think there are a lot of spots essentially up for grabs. And speaking of up for grabs, there were two big catches, nice diving catches. Tyler Harrell made a really nice catch in the slot where he just outstretched it and came down with it. And just watching him run routes, the speed is definitely there. I had a fun talk with Chris Johnson about speed with him, and you obviously know about his speed at the 100 meter level, running the 10.2 there in high school when they did. But I asked him if him and Tyler were to race in the 40, who would win. I didn't ask Tyler this. I'm sure he would have said the same thing. But Chris said in the 40 he'd win. I said, well, what about the 100? And he said he'd win that. And then, he talked about some of the offensive speed. But then he said, I asked him about on defense, who's the fastest guy on defense? And he felt like it took him a while to answer, but he said Robert Stafford, freshman cornerback. So he said he's the fastest guy, but then also Chris added, they're all slow. So that's what he said about the defense. So I found that to be funny, but fast guys are fun to talk to in all sports just because of what they're able to do. They're a lot of fun to watch. So Chris is certainly confident. I'm going to put that video on the channel shortly so you guys can see that. But again, sticking with the offense a little bit, talking with Coach Dawson. I didn't get a chance to go through all these notes that came out from Media Day. But Tyler Van Dyke, I asked him today about maybe something different he did in the off season, because he's had multiple off seasons, and I'm always curious about players, veteran players, as they kind of go through another summer, another off season, things they do differently to get ready for the season. And Tyler said he did go to Mobile and worked with QB country and worked on some things, and footwork was one of those things. And when I asked Coach Dawson about it, this was at media day before Tyler revealed this, and he said the thing about Tyler and his footwork, that they really want to work on getting his feet in the ground to make throws. Basically, be ready to make a throw, or if you have to make a throw, whether it's a rush or whatever it might be, you've got to make sure your feet are in the right spots to make that throw. And Tyler did say he's working a little bit, throwing off platform a little bit as well, when you're off balance a little bit, not have the perfect set or perfect drop like you normally would. So I think maybe you'll see some of that, but just the big thing with Tyler is making sure his feet are in the right spot when it is time to throw. And I found that to be interesting, something to watch for this season, if Tyler has a little bit better footwork when he makes his throws. Not the footwork necessarily scrambling, but just when he's set to make his throws. And just kind of lastly, just a quick recap on the injury report. And I had that VIP article on the website with more information on all 4 of these players, with Elijah Arroyo, Leonard Taylor, Zion Nelson, and Trevante Citizen, talking about their injury status currently and what they expect for fall camp. So definitely check that out. I'll link it in the comments below so you can see it if you haven't seen it yet. But I just want to say, Elijah looked good today. You know, I'm not surprised, but I thought he ran routes and did a good job. He's a guy, I think if he's out there and healthy, I really think he can have a good year. You know, I know they're losing a lot in Will Mallory with the catches and the production that he had, leading the team in both categories with the yards and the catches. But I think Elijah's got a shot to have a good season too, assuming he stays healthy and things like that. So that was good. Saw Zion out there. He did stretching, so able to see that. Couldn't quite see the offensive line. Again, we were indoors watching it, so they were clear across the field. Didn't get a chance to see the O-line as much, but I will focus on them moving forward. But drop in the comments below if there's questions you have. It's hard to get to all 85 guys. Definitely drop below. Maybe I'll comment on them. Definitely want to keep these things going, keep the topics going, and continue to do more commentary videos. I think you guys like those, whether it's with other reporters that cover other teams, or even David or Gabby, bringing them on to talk about different things as well. So the way it looks, we'll practice tomorrow morning. I'm not sure the schedule the rest of the month. They will do a scrimmage next week. They'll get in pads probably this week. I expect them to take a day off this week as well at some point. But definitely stay tuned to the channel. Stay tuned to InsideTheU.com. I'm gonna have plenty of more videos from Media Day. I've still got to put those on the site, but definitely check out the coach videos. I highly recommend those. And one of the things I like to do with that is put those topic rundowns, so you guys can maybe move ahead on those videos. I'm gonna work on those as well. So thanks for watching. I beat the rain. I got to get inside though, because I can't press my luck too much. But thanks for watching. Hopefully you have a good rest of the day, and take care.